Welcome back to Let's Play Higurashi, Onikakushi. It loaded up faster than I could hit the record. Well, I hit the record at the time, but it's like, the countdown was like 3, 2, 1. So that kind of like is not quite the same as the other parts, you know, record sessions when it starts off with going through that intro, like from start to finish. Anyways, let's get this out of the way quickly. Japanese word of the day. Mitsukara nai. Mitsukara nai. Missing. Adjective. To be missing. I don't know, I feel that kind of thing with, you know, the whole spirited away with by demons thing. But there's another thing I want to go over here is I've been like browsing through this dictionary a lot over the past few days, and I came across an interesting kind of what would that be called actually? What is it? Another thing I've also learned from this language, you know, learning Japanese, from like observation of the phrases I've learned at the college and observation of stuff in this dictionary, essentially, like all the words and all that. Well, it's particularly because it's the dictionary points it out. There's these things in the Japanese language called particles, which are kind of like the equivalent of like, you know, saying stuff like and, there, and stuff like that. Sort of, anyway. It's like you add them on, and essentially there's one that makes a sentence into please do if you add te, and then follow up with kudasai. But, in order to do that, you've got to have a verb before the te. You've got to have it attach that, and then follow up by kudasai. If you want to say please don't, you use a verb, and then you say naide kudasai. That follows it, and it becomes please don't, and it's whatever the verb is the subject of it. Let's come up with an example here. Please what? Actually, this is one that I found amusing, actually. I remember just scrolling through, like, the pages, whatever, just, like, going through the pages, and I randomly just, like, the page landed on a really amusing kind of sentence. So I'm going to use that as an example. Right. Fuku negu te kudasai. Please undress. No. Let's come up with one for the please don't. We need another verb. Okay, that one will do. Kusuguru naide kudasai. I don't know, maybe the ru at the end has to be taken out. I'm not 100% sure on verbs, but that would be please don't tickle, I guess. That's the thing, I've noticed there's like a lot of these endings of sentences, just there's a reoccurring pattern. There was something ru, like, always seems to appear at the end. And it's like there are other variations of it. It's really confusing. But anyway, let's return to the plot. Wasn't the previous part lovely, wasn't it? Last recorded quite a while back, and it doesn't say it now, but it was said the second, it's now the 9th. And aren't those adorable faces? Just like, it makes it hard to believe that it has such a horrific side to the plots. Yeah, my apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Yeah, one thing I keep forgetting to mention is, and like, now that we've gone into the plot a bit more, and like, we've seen Rena be all like, Usada! You know, speaking of that, actually, why it's like said Usada, it's because like, in the anime, you actually hear us say that, and it means lies. But actually, I think uso means lies, and da is added on for emphasis. It's weird. It's like, you also got yo as well. Can like be added at the end of a statement for extra emphasis on what you just said. What has it got lies in here? Lies. lie. Uso Tsuku. To tell a lie. But uso is like, that's just like saying lies without that. Oh wait, that's to tell a lie. That's not exactly saying lies. Liar's in here somewhere, right? I remember saying that in the previous part as well. The Sotsuki, that means liar. I was like, just like, if you've seen the anime and you like watch the previous part, you're just like, it's not a Sotsuki. She goes, Usada! It's just like, no, I was waiting for that build-up where it finally came, where it's just like, Usada! Wait, particles. Does it even show it in this? No, it doesn't. Oh wait, no, it'd probably be on a Japanese size dictionary. Where is it? Da 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 da. Should be around here, I think. No. Da 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 da. What does it have to say about you? It's essentially the plain form of des, or desu if you want to call it that way, and translatable as am, is, or are. I also, just like, I don't know. Well, it obviously isn't that, like what you said, Usada is like, well, it could be, is lies, but that doesn't grammatically make sense. But then again, it could, I don't know. Well, I remember reading this somewhere where it was added for emphasis. I think des is also kind of like that as well. Anyways, I'm rambling again. Oh wait, I forgot what I was gonna... Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. Essentially, like, you know, ignore the fact that Rena has shown that side of herself and just focus on her cute mood stuff, right? I like thinking it's like, with my freaking pathetic sneeze whenever I sneeze, sounds like a goddamn hamster. I'd imagine if I was in this novel, she would go, oh, that's all that shit. It'd be like, so cute. Just like, that is the most ridiculously adorable sneeze I've ever heard. Which is surprising, really. It's just like, oh, this really kind of cheap. And it just like does not fit the image, does it? It's like, you got this guy, me, for example, you got the glasses, you got the facial hair, you got this almost constant look of just like, usually anyway, where I'm just like, just look like I'm just annoyed all the time, almost resting bitch face and all that. And like, then that sneeze, and it's just like, what the fuck was that? But anyways, this Yellow blocks is just something I kept forgetting to mention. Keiichi, hurry and open up! Daddy's got his hand full. What is Dad doing? I have stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. I know that feeling, sitting around frickin' doing these recordings. You know, honestly, I could just use my goddamn desk for this shit. Seriously. I opened the door, I saw my fellow standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea, a fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side, everything you could ask for. It was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face. But for my entire life, I've never seen him act like this, act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So, what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father. But how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? I'm assuming he was, this late at night. Nothing much. Just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? Rena-chan. Broken piano sound. She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea, but it looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? Rena Chan went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the second floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her that your room was the door down the hall of the stairs. Rena came into my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Ooishi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so had her come inside. He had her come inside, and told him my room was on the second floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. Then after she came upstairs until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had for about an hour in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the ominous things and all the nonsense I spoke to Ooishi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mom yelled up at... it's a mess again. Yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. No, another thing also, I imagine I knew this fact years ago as well, but I'd since forgotten it till recently. But, you know, the world of Higurashi, like the setting, it is essentially based on an actual location. Not like an actual location where actual shit like this happens, but essentially you see the sceneries. Like I've thought, it's obvious. The person, who made the novel, came up with it and all that, went to this isolated village that actually exists, took pictures, then posterized them, I guess, and was like, okay, that's gonna be the setting. It's kind of interesting. Also, another interesting thing is the same village that Higurashi is based on setting-wise is also had an influence on this one village that plays an important location in Karano Shoujo 2. So that's 2 freaking novels I've read that are based on that location alone. Kinda interesting. Also, the dam thing, it's also actually based on something as well. Except, it was actually, a few villages, a temple, and stuff like that ended up being sunk. But it wasn't connected to the actual village that this is based on. It's, kind of a combination of things, inspired for the story, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. But with the Wikipedia page thing I mentioned, probably if you don't want spoilers, don't look it up, because you might end up running into spoilers simply just by looking at images of the damn village. It even actually has, statues of the characters from Higurashi. It's kind of interesting as well. Anyways, I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the doorway where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now as I was talking to Ooishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away the whole time. That also reminds me, there's actually, CG artwork, and there's one for this, but it's not in this version by the looks of it. I've seen the CG, because, I remember Googling Onikakushi a while back. And just, look at the images, and just, one CG appeared in the image search, and it, showed, essentially, Rena, ominously, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of, well, she was essentially standing there, essentially. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but she was totally standing there. I mean, we're going over there right now, All that time in this dimly lit doorway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Higurashi when they cry. Actually, notice from the police chief tips. You know, it's so obvious now. Achievement unlocked! Lies! Why wasn't that unlocked earlier, though? I mean, that scene was in the previous part. But I think I know tips is obviously, like, you know, tips, actual tips. It's like, oh, this will help you in the investigation, even though you don't even have any choices in this novel. You just, like, so I just see them as extra scenes that kind of expand on things. But tips, whatever. I'm looking in this dictionary for a word here. Went past it. Cry. Naku. Higurashi. When they Naku. No, doesn't make sense because, you know, Japanese is, you know, different sentence structure. Let's do this tip. You know that shrine background? The Furude shrine? That's also, like, in the actual village itself as well. July 1st, 1982, to departments 1 through 12, blah, prefectural police headquarters, director general, blah. To the chief constable and all faculty managers. Regarding cases situated in the Hinmazawa village, notice. Those cases in Shishimone City, Hinmazawa village, have been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has grown global attention, which has caused serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. The livelihood and prosperity of the residents and the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinawa Station, 1982, case number, blah. Hinmazawa Village, housewife murder, dated June, blah. Okinawa Station, 1982, case number, blah. Hinmazawa Village, student disappearance, dated June, blah. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinawa Station, 1979, case number, blah. Hinmazawa Village, Prize Foreman murder, dated June, blah. Shira Station, 1980, case number, blah. Shira Natural Park Falling Incident, dated June, blah. Okinawa Station, 1981, case number, blah. Hinmazawa Village, Shinto Priest Wives Disappearance, dated June, blah. 3. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerned the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, blah. Prefecture, Police Headquarters, Internal Line, blah. Police Affairs Department, blah, blah. You know, I also, like, a while back, like, remembered, like, the one instant that wasn't reported in the newspaper, that they haven't gone into detail. I now actually remember all about that, but I'm not going to spoil it. None of you viewers either. You see this right here? The Furude Shrine? Like, in the actual location it's based off, this place actually technically exists. Looks exactly like this. Because they just obviously took a picture of it and we're just like, okay, let's posterize it and we'll use it as backgrounds. That's kind of neat, I guess. I wonder how many Higurashi fans go to there, like, on a yearly basis. Because they do seem to have, like, some kind of, like, you know, Higurashi stuff there. Like, you know, the statues that I mentioned, which is kind of odd. Can you imagine that? It's just bizarre. It's actually like an isolated mountain village or something like that. Which makes sense, you know, how Hinmazawa would be based on it, because, like, Hinmazawa is a rural, isolated village in the middle of nowhere for the most part. Man, Rena's face. You can't see it, but off. Oh, this is the track! This is the track I was talking about that I liked. Love this track. I have no idea what it's called, and it probably, I don't know. It's probably, like I said, like, Manga Gamer couldn't get the rights for the music originally for the question arc, so they have to improvise with it. So imagine they found stock music, or whatever you call it, public domain, But I'm really curious to know who actually composed and recorded this piece, because it's very nice. But as I was just saying, like off the screen, you know, like I got Steam in the background essentially, you know, this right here off the screen a bit is like the achievement that was unlocked with Rena's face on it. And it's staring at me pretty much to the side of the screen this whole time. So, can we unlock a different achievement, please? Weariness and a headache. What a very nice way to start the day. I am curious to know what key this is in. That's definitely not a usual key. Okay, it's got a C major in there. I think my guitar's a bit out of tune. No, it's definitely not that. Okay, let's try the acoustic guitar. Oh yeah, it's gotten dark. Definitely not G major. Nope. What key would that be? God damn, I can't figure it out. Actually, it may be the most basic of basic, C major. I don't know what modes it's got going on there, but it sounds nice. Probably mixing the major and minor scale of C major, A minor. This track is simple, but it is very nice. What's wrong, Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mum had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Well, that reminds me. Last night, I was like, I randomly thought of an idea. It's like, I could totally write a song inspired by Higurashi. And like, it was like, no, actually it was almost like, actually it was in the morning, actually, when I went to sleep. Like around about 7 or something like that. which is why I was like, like, it can't be arsed right now. But one lyric I thought up was like, that could fit the theme, was like, something like, whispers in the night. That's all I could come up with for that. It's like, there's plenty of material you could go with to like, you know, come up with a song. And I was like, the other day I remember reading this random poem about this lighthouse disappearance that happened at the start of the 20th century, pretty much. I forget the island's name, but it's an island kind of between Iceland and Scotland. And like the three lighthouse keepers just mysteriously went missing and all that. And like this poem inspired by it, and I found it kind of like the wording of it all kind of neat. And I was like, And then I think, what if I write a song about Higurashi and have this kind of feel to it? It has this poetic feel to it. And all I could come up with, like I just said, is like whispers in the night. Because if we were to like be based on this arc, for example, it'd have to be kind of a paranoia kind of fueled song. So whispers in the night. And I was like thinking maybe it could throw Higurashi in there somewhere, but I was like, nah, that's too direct a reference. It's just like, would it be like, nah, man, you can't, well, I don't know. Would Higurashi, when they cry, be trademarked as like, you can't use that in a song? Just like, when the Higurashi cries, it's just like, no, you can't use that. I don't know. But anyways, not being able to stand it, so I called up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table at instant, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold, I don't really have an appetite.
Why, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school?
Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. So I took some medicine and got a good day of rest. I might be able to get to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena.
Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off?
Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It'd have to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry.
Then I'll go send her off for you.
Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived that I quickly fell into a deep slumber. With the peaceful music. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen this room. You know, and that's another thing, actually. You know his house, when we saw it from the outside that one time? That's actually a location in the village as well. Like, everything that we see, essentially, is in that village that is based on. Probably even the interior of the buildings as well, I imagine. I'd only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. Can't remember the name of the village, though. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. Clearly had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. He would probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, the insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital. There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. Light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, just in case I went to the hospital.
Normally I'd never be here
Let's walking around like this and it feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling, full and sharp, you damn birds. Spoiled my mum's map. I thought that was birds. Probably. I took a road I usually never use. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Keiichi Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. I recognize this kanji character, but I don't know what it means. I've seen it a couple of times. Maybe it's like for clinic, hospital, and stuff like that, because it is, you know. Could also mean other things. I mean, remember when I mentioned volcano using the kanji for mountain? But like mountain is pronounced as Yama, but volcano wasn't, despite using the same kanji character, so it doesn't imply same pronunciation all the time, which is damn right confusing. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Higurashi, it was far too grand. Did I read the previous line? Well, on the map, I took the road, I usually don't have to work a little bit, the hospital sign came into view. Oh yeah. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. You must be making a mint. Are we gonna see the guy? I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Ibara-san, please make your way to the examination room. You know, also keep in mind that Takno, who went missing, also worked here, but, you know, currently, you know, missing and all. So I won't, well, it probably won't even mention that, I imagine. After properly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, it's probably a cold. They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. Well, he doesn't even appear on screen yet? The doctor actually has a portrait, you know, a character portrait. But I guess he doesn't appear till one of the other arcs. Maybe the next question, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the third one. He definitely appears eventually. It's kind of, it's like, well, important-ish character. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder, she was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? They talking about Tomataki-san. I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or I'll quit that job or something. It's an elopement because you didn't leave a note or message. Our voice is very stupid. I thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takno-san is an outstanding young woman, yeah, so I guess they are going to mention her after all then. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takno-san. That woman with Tomataki-san. She worked at this clinic? Well, Keiichi, we've been paying attention way back early on where Mion and Rena were introducing you to everyone, pointing out who was who and all that. You would recall that you did run into her, but she didn't appear on screen that one time, ages ago. When they mentioned it's like, oh, she works at the clinic. Well, Yoshiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't really seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Plus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Yoshiro-sama's shadow. And of course, Yoshiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamisawa. As long as I was in Hinamisawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Suddenly, music stops. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned on to a familiar street. that moment I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? And keep in mind, it's a pretty isolated place. You wouldn't see cars going around that much, I'd imagine. I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Of course, I'm Ara-san. Good day to you. It was Ooishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? What's up today? School on break. Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and headed back home. That's great, I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. Who's saying that? Oh yeah, it's probably him. I doubt you want to go eat at one of those local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Ooishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in his house. You know, with that pause there, it just makes it seem like, is Ooishi gonna have those eyes where they're like, eerie music? No. I went with Ooishi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitaka-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitaka-san. Ooishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time, where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitaka-san to react like that. But then, you're saying the police concluded Tomitaka-san just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Tomitaka-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved our humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamisawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot and I followed Ooishi-san into the shop.